How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, October 1st, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances that took place yesterday on Thursday, September 30th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. As we enter the last quarter of the 2021 calendar year, taking a look at where we are, the MLB season is coming to a close as the season should be over by this time next week as the playoffs are just starting to get underway. At the same time, the WNBA playoffs are already underway as the semifinal rounds are both matchups both game twos for the semifinal round of the WNBA playoffs happened yesterday as well as as there are only 4 teams left competing in the WNBA for the title. At the same time, football around the world is also starting back up as college football's fifth week or their fifth Friday is today, and we will enter the fifth Saturday of college football tomorrow. Looking at what's going on in the NFL, yesterday was the fourth Thursday of the NFL season, so that season is still virtually getting underway as well. And just to get started, I'm going to start with the 2 WNBA matchups that took place yesterday. Going into the first matchup, the first seed Connecticut Sun, they hosted the 6th seed Chicago Sky after the Sky were able to beat the Sun in Game 1. In Game 2, the Sun would come from behind. Going into the fourth quarter, the Sky were up by 1. The Sun would end up outscoring the Sky 21-9 by 12 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Sky 79-68. They won the game by 11 by outscoring the Sky by 12 in the fourth quarter. And looking out to how the Sky fared in this matchup, their leading scorer was their starting guard, Kahleah Copper. Kahleah Copper would finish with 13 points on the night and 5 rebounds along with 3 steals and 2 blocks. In 31 minutes, she would shoot 4 for 11 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their future Hall of Fame forward, Candace Parker, at 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks in 32 minutes as she shot 5 for 8 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3, and made her only free throw. For the first seed Connecticut Sun, they had 2 players that tied for the team high. Their leading scorer off the bench was their forward Alyssa Thomas out of Maryland. Alyssa Thomas would finish with 15 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and a couple of steals. She shot 6 for 13 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. And then their leading scorer out of their starters was DeWanna Bonner. She also finished with 15 points, which was tied for the game high. Bonner had 15 points and 8 rebounds in the 26 minutes she played. She shot 6 for 13 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. With this win, the first seed Connecticut Sun have evened the series up with the Chicago Sky at 1. Now it is a best of 3 series as both teams need 2 more wins to advance to the WNBA Finals. Looking at the second game of the night, the second seed Las Vegas Aces hosted the 5th seed Phoenix Mercury. The Vegas Aces won Game 1, and going into this matchup, they were 2 games away. And the Phoenix Mercury would end up beating the Las Vegas Aces 117-91. With this 26-point win, they've evened up the series. Looking at how Phoenix did it, they would outscore Las Vegas by 17 in the first quarter. They outscored them 37-20, and they would also go on to outscore Vegas by 10 points in the second half. For the Las Vegas Aces in this matchup, their leading scorer was their leading scorer amongst their starters was Riquna Williams. Riquna Williams out of Miami would finish with 17 points and a couple of steals in 23 minutes. She shot 7 for 12 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their leading scorer was their guard off the bench, Kelsey Plum. Plum would go on to finish with 25 points and 3 assists in 30 minutes. She shot 10 for 17 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. For the Phoenix Mercury in this matchup, their leading scorer was their Olympian guard and their future Hall of Famer, Diana Taurasi. She finished with 37 points and 6 rebounds in 27 minutes. She shot 10 for 13 from the field, 8 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 9 for 9 from the foul line. And then their starting center out of Baylor, Brittany Griner, would finish with 25 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 26 minutes. She shot 9 for 12 12 from the field and 7 for 8 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Skylar Diggins-Smith, would finish with 17 points and 5 assists in 28 minutes. She shot 6 for 12 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 5th seed Phoenix Mercury have evened up the series with the 2nd seed Las Vegas Aces at 1. Now it is a best-of-3 series in this matchup, too, as both teams are now 2 games away from facing off against the winner between the Connecticut Sun and the Chicago Sky. That is what the WNBA playoffs are looking like as of right now. Taking a look at what's going on to the MLB as that season is coming to a close. Starting off in St. Louis, the St. Louis Cardinals were able to beat the Milwaukee Brewers 4-3 as after the Brewers ended the Cardinals' 17-game winning streak. The Brewers would go into the bottom of the 6th, leading the Cardinals 3-2. However, it would be a 2-run home run from Dylan Carlson to give the Cardinals the lead and eventually the win. For the Milwaukee Brewers in this matchup, the start was given to Brett Anderson. Brett Anderson allowed 2 earned runs in 5 innings, striking out 2. The loss would go to the Brewers' first relief pitcher, Miguel Sanchez. Sanchez allowed 2 earned runs in the 6th inning as he was unable to strike out a batter. He picked up his first blown save of the season, and with this loss, Sanchez is 2-1 on the season for Milwaukee. In the Brewers' batting lineup, their third baseman, Eduardo Escobar, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their right fielder, Tyrone Taylor, would go 3 for 3 with a run as well. And then for the St. Louis Cardinals, the win went to J.A. Happ. He allowed 3 earned runs in 6.1 innings. He would strike out 7 before getting pulled in the 7th inning, and with this win, he's 10-8. The save would go to the Cardinals' closer for the day, Luis Garcia. Garcia would allow no earned runs in .2 innings as he struck out both the batters he needed to get out as he finished off the 9th inning. He will pick up his 2nd save of the season, and then taking a look at what's going on with the Cardinals batting lineup. Their center fielder, Dylan Carlson, went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. His 2 hits were his 17th and 18th home runs of the year, as he was the only player on the Cardinals with a multi-hit game. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are 89-70. That is the 2nd best record in the National League Central. They've won 9 of their last 10 games, and they trailed the National League champs, Milwaukee Brewers, by 6 games in the division. They have already secured that 2nd National League wildcard spot as they sit 14 games behind the LA Dodgers, who are holding on to that first spot. And now that the Phillies have been eliminated, the 5 spots in the National League playoff picture, the 5 teams have been solidified, and the Cardinals are now one of those teams. And they are fixated to play in their first playoff game either in San Francisco or in Los Angeles, depending on how that season ends. With this loss, the Milwaukee Brewers are 95-64. They've already won the National League Central as they've lost 6 of their last 10 games. They sit 6 games ahead of the 2nd place St. Louis Cardinals, who have already clinched a wild card spot. And as of right now, the Brewers are comfortably sitting in that 2nd spot in the National League playoff picture. They sit about 10 games behind the first seed San Francisco Giants. They're not going to catch them. And they sit about 9 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves, who are sitting on top of the National League East. So it looks as though the 2nd seed is going to be Milwaukee's as they prepare to face off against Atlanta in the first round of the playoffs. Jumping out to Dallas, the Texas Rangers hosted the LA Angels, and in a matchup where neither team was going to make the playoffs regardless, the Texas Rangers would end up beating the Angels 7-6 so the Angels would go into the 8th inning up 6-5. The Rangers would end up taking the lead off of a 2-run double from Brock Holt, and they would pull away with their 59th win of the season. For the Los Angeles Angels in this matchup, the start was given to Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb allowed 5 runs in 5 innings, striking out 5. The loss would go to the Angels' setup relief pitcher, Jeremy Herget. Herget would allow 2 earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched. He would pitch the entire 7th, but get pulled in the 8th. He would pick up his 2nd blown save of the season, and with this loss, Herget is 2-3. In the Angels' batting lineup, their center fielder, Brandon Marsh, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their all-star designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their all-star first baseman, Jared Walsh, would go 3 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. And then their shortstop, Luis Rengifo, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI. For the Texas Rangers, the start was given to Glenn Otto. Otto allowed 5 earned runs in 2 innings as he struck out 2. The win was given to the Rangers setup relief pitcher Spencer Patton. Spencer Patton would allow no earned runs in the 7th and 8th inning as he struck out 3 batters. With this win, he's now 2-2. The save would end up going to the Rangers closer Joe Barlow. Barlow allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. He picked up his 11th save of the season. In the Rangers batting lineup, their right fielder Adolis Garcia went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 31st home run of the season. And then their center fielder DJ Peters would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. Peters hit his 13th home run of the season. With this win, the Texas Rangers are now 59-100. That is the worst record in the American League West. They've won 4 of their last 10 games as they trail the American League West champs Houston Astros by 34 games in the division. With this loss, the Los Angeles Angels are now 75-84. They've lost 7 of their last 10 as they trail the Astros by 18 games in the division. Following this matchup, the Texas Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels are 2 of 8 teams in the American League that have been eliminated from playoff contention at this point in the season. With this, following this, jumping out to Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Pirates hosted the Chicago Cubs, and the Cubs were able to shut the Pirates out to win the game 9-0, even though neither team was going to make the playoffs. For the Pittsburgh Pirates in this matchup, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Miguel Yajure. Yajure would allow 7 earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out a batter. With this loss, he's 0-2. In the Pirates batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, and that would be attributed to great pitching from Chicago. For the Chicago Cubs, the win was given to Justin Steele. Steele allowed no earned runs and 4 hits in 7 innings as he would go on to strike out 7 batters. With this win, Justin Steele is 4-4 on the season. In the Cubs batting lineup, their center fielder, Rafael Ortega, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 11th home run of the season. Their catcher, Wilson Contreras, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their third baseman, Matt Duffy, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI. And then their shortstop, Sergio Alcantara, went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run. Alcantara will go on to hit his 5th home run of the season. With this win, the Chicago Cubs are now 69-90. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 3 of their last 10. They trail the National League Central champs Milwaukee Brewers by 26 games in the division. With this loss, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 55-100. That is the worst record in the National League Central, the 2nd worst record in the National League. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They trail the Milwaukee Brewers, the current National League champs, by 36 games in the division. Following this matchup, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago Cubs are 2 of the 10 teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention in the National League, as the 5 playoff teams have already been selected. Jumping out to Baltimore, the Baltimore Orioles hosted the Boston Red Sox, and the Orioles were able to get another big win on the Red Sox, even though the Red Sox needed a win to clinch a playoff spot. For the Red Sox in this matchup, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Nick Pivetta. He allowed 3 earned runs and 4.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 8 batters before getting pulled in the 5th inning, and with this loss, Nick Pivetta is 9-8. In the Red Sox batting lineup, no one on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. That would be attributed to great pitching from Baltimore. But the Red Sox center fielder, Kike Hernandez, would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 19th home run of the year. For the Baltimore Orioles, the win was given to their starting pitcher, Alexander Wells. Alexander Wells would allow 1 earned run and 3 hits in 6 innings. He would strike out 2 on the day, and with this win, he's 2-3. In the Orioles batting lineup, their third baseman, Kelvin Gutierrez, would go 2 for 4 with a run, and then their shortstop, Pat Valaika, would go 2 for 2 with an RBI and a run. Additionally, their first baseman, Ryan Mountcastle, went 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run. Mountcastle hit his 33rd home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the Baltimore Orioles are now 52-107. That is the worst record in the American League and the 2nd worst record in all of baseball. They've won 5 of their last 10 games as they trail the American League champs, Tampa Bay Rays, by 46 games within their division, the AL East. And of course, with this win, the Orioles are still one of the 9 teams in the American League that have been eliminated from playoff contention, as they sit alongside the Texas Rangers, the Minnesota Twins, the Kansas City Royals, the Los Angeles Angels, the Detroit Tigers, the Cleveland Indians, and now the Oakland Athletics. With this loss, the Boston Red Sox are 89-70. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games as they trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 9 games in the division. Right now, they're holding on to that second American League wildcard spot, sitting alongside the Seattle Mariners. They both sit 2 games behind the New York Yankees, who are holding on to that first spot, and they both sit a game ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays, who are the first team on the outside looking in. As the Red Sox are tied with the Mariners, both teams have 3 games left in their season, so it is going to come down to this final series for the Red Sox. Jumping out to Toronto, speaking of another team that's in a very similar predicament, the Blue Jays hosted the New York Yankees, and in a must-win game for the Blue Jays and for the Yankees as well, the Yankees would end up beating the Blue Jays 6-2. The Blue Jays were leading 2-1 going into the top of the 6th. The Yankees would tie the game off of a solo home run from Anthony Rizzo to tie it at 2. Then a solo home run from Aaron Judge would give the Yankees the lead, and then from there, off of a 2-run home run from Gleyber Torres that inning, and then a solo home run from Brett Gardner, the Yankees would pull away with a 4-run win. For the Toronto Blue Jays, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Robbie Ray. He allowed 5 earned runs in 5.1 innings as he struck out 4. With this loss, he's 13-7. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their center fielder, George Springer, went 2 for 5. And then their all-star shortstop, Bo Bichette, went 2 for 3 with a run. Also, their designated hitter, Corey Dickerson, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then their third baseman, Santiago Espinal, will go 2 for 4 as well. For the New York Yankees, the start was given to their elite starting pitcher, Corey Kluber. The former American League Cy Young winner would allow 2 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 2. The win was given to the Yankees' first relief pitcher on the day, Michael King. Michael King would go on to allow no earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched. He would finish out the 5th inning and pitch the entire 6th as he struck out a batter in that span. With this win, Michael King is 2-4. In the Yankees batting lineup, their elite right fielder Aaron Judge would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. His 2 home runs were his 38th and 39th home runs of the season. Alongside him, their elite second baseman, Gleyber Torres, would go 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as his home run was his 9th of the season. With this win, the New York Yankees are 91-68. That is the 2nd best record in the American League East. They've won 8 of their last 10 games as they trail the AL East champs Tampa Bay Rays by 7 games in the division. The New York Yankees have not yet clinched a playoff spot as they sit 2 games ahead of the Red Sox and the Mariners, who are tied for the second American League wildcard spot. The Yankees have 3 more games left in their season, so it's very possible that they could clinch the wild card with 1 more win, just to give a sense of where they are. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 88-71. That is the 4th best record in the American League East. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games as they trail the division champs they trail the division champs Tampa Bay Rays by 10 games in the division, and at the moment they sit 1 game behind the Boston Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners, who are tied for that 2nd spot in the American League wildcard. At the moment, the Toronto Blue Jays are the first team on the outside looking in, as they only trail by 1 game. Just to give a sense of how close their season is, they have 3 more games left in their season, as they are only 3 games removed from the top of the wild card, just to show how close the American League wild card is. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Astros hosted the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Astros were able to beat the Rays 3-2 to secure their division title. They would score all 3 of their runs in the 4th inning off of a 3-run home run from Brandon Lau the 3-run home run was hit by Carlos Correa, wrong team. Brandon Lau hit a 2-run home run in response, but those were the only runs that were scored all game, and the Astros would win by 1. For the Tampa Bay Rays in this matchup, the start was given to Colin McHugh. He only pitched the first inning of the game, only allowing 1 hit and no runs. The loss would go to the Rays' first relief pitcher, Ryan Yarbrough. Yarbrough would allow 3 earned runs in 4.2 innings as he struck out 3. With this loss, Yarbrough is 9-7. In the Rays batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their second baseman, Brandon Lau, would go 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run. His home run was his 36th of the year. For the Houston Astros, the start was given to Lance McCullers Jr., and he picked up the win as well. He allowed 2 earned runs and 3 hits in 6 innings. He would strike out 4 on the day. With this win, Lance McCullers Jr. is 13-5. The save would go to the Astros closer, Ryan Presley, as he allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning. That was his 26th save of the year. In the Astros batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their left fielder, Yordan Alvarez. He went 2 for 4. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 93-66. That is the best record in the American League West, as they have been the third, and they are the third team in the American League to clinch their division. They've won 5 of their last 10 games, as they now sit 4 games ahead of the second-place Seattle Mariners in their division. Having now clinched a playoff spot, the Astros are now sitting in that second spot in the American League playoff picture, as they trail the American League East champs Tampa Bay Rays, who are holding the 1 seed, and they're sitting ahead of the 3 seed Chicago White Sox, who have already won the American League Central. With this loss, the Tampa Bay Rays are 98-61. That is still the best record in the American League, and of course the American League East. They've lost 4 of their last 10 games, as they sit 7 games ahead of the second-place New York Yankees in the division. The Blue Jays are holding on to that top spot in the playoff picture as they sit ahead of the 2nd seed Houston Astros, who've won the West, and they sit ahead of the 3rd seed Chicago White Sox, who have won the AL Central for the time being. With 3 games left in their season, I imagine, or with 3 games left, the Rays have to win 2 more games to cross that 100-win threshold for the season. Jumping out to Queens, the New York Mets hosted the Miami Marlins, and the Mets would end up beating the Marlins 12-3 in a game that had no playoff ramifications. The Miami Marlins were up 3-2 going into the bottom of the 4th. The Mets would end up tying it off of an RBI single from Jonathan Villar, and then they would end up taking the lead off of a 2-run double from James McCann to make it 5-3. 7 runs later, the Mets would run away with win number 76. For the Miami Marlins, the start was given to Edward Cabrera. He allowed 2 earned runs and 2 hits in 3 innings. He would strike out 6 on the day. The loss would go to the Marlins' first relief pitcher, Sean Gunther. Gunther would allow 4 earned runs in .2 innings pitched, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Marlins batting lineup, their left fielder, Lewis Brinson, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. He hit his 9th home run of the season. For the New York Mets, the win was given to their starting pitcher, Rich Hill. He allowed 3 runs in 5 innings as he struck out 6. With this win, Rich Hill is 7-8. In the Mets batting lineup, their right fielder, Michael Conforto, went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. Additionally, their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, would go 1 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a run. Francisco Lindor would go on to hit a home run in the 8th inning, and that, of course, was a grand slam, of course, for context reasons. Their elite first baseman, Pete Alonso, went 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 36th and 37th home runs of the season. And with this win, the New York Mets are now 76-83. That is the 3rd best record in the National League East this season. They've won 4 of their last 10 games as they trail the National League East champs Atlanta Braves by 10.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Miami Marlins are now 65-94. They are tied with the Washington Nationals for the worst record in the National League East and the 3rd worst record in the National League. The Marlins have lost 8 of their last 10 games as they now trail the Atlanta Braves by 21.5 games in the division. And following this matchup, the Mets and the Marlins are 2 of the 10 teams that have been eliminated from the National League playoff contention, as the field for the National League playoff picture has already been set. Jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves were able to beat the Philadelphia Phillies in order to secure the division title for the 4th season in a row. They were able to beat the Phillies 5-3 as the Braves scored 5 runs before the Phillies could score at all. For the Phillies in this matchup, the loss was given to their starting pitcher from the Rangers, Kyle Gibson. He allowed 4 earned runs in 4.1 innings as he struck out 8 on the day. With this loss, he's 10-9. In the Phillies batting lineup, their left fielder, former National League MVP Andrew McCutchen, would end up going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would hit his 26th home run of the season as he was the only Philly with more than 1 hit. For the Atlanta Braves, the win was given to their starting pitcher, Ian Anderson. He allowed 2 earned runs and 3 hits in 6 innings as he struck out 2. With this win, Ian Anderson is 9-5. The save would go to the Braves closer, Will Smith. Smith would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. He picked up his 37th save of the season, and in the Braves batting lineup, their third baseman, Austin Riley, would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 33rd home run of the season. Also for the Braves, their shortstop, Dansby Swanson, would go 2 for 2 with an RBI. With this win, the Atlanta Braves are 86-72. That is the best record in the National League East. I mean, they've clinched the best record in the National League East by winning the division title. The Braves have won their last 6 games. They are tied with the San Francisco Giants for the longest active win streak in baseball right now. They've won 9 of their last 10 games. They sit 5.5 games ahead of the second-place Philadelphia Phillies, and with 4 games left in their schedule, they have clinched the National League East title. At the moment, looking at the National League playoff picture, they are still sitting behind the 1-seed San Francisco Giants, who have yet to win their division, and they sit behind the 2nd-seed Milwaukee Brewers, who have already won the National League Central. With this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are 81-78. That is the second best record in the National League East. They've lost their last 4 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They trail the Atlanta Braves by 5.5 games in the division. And with this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are the 10th and final team to be eliminated from playoff contention in the National League. They are now sitting alongside the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Washington Nationals, Miami Marlins, the Chicago Cubs, the Colorado Rockies, the New York Mets, the San Diego Padres, and the Cincinnati Reds. As the 5 teams for the National League playoff picture have been set, as they are the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers from the NL West, the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals from the NL Central, and the Atlanta Braves are going to be the lone team from the National League East that is going to qualify for the 2021 playoffs this season. Jumping out to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins hosted the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers would end up beating the Twins 10-7. The Twins were leading 7-6 going into the 8th inning. The Tigers would end up taking the lead, or they tied it up off of an RBI double from Harold Castro. They would take the lead off of a sac fly from Dustin Garneau, and 2 runs later, they would come away with a very big, with a win in Minnesota that would not do anything to change their playoff hopes. For the Minnesota Twins, the start was given to Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan would pitch 4.2 innings, allowing 6 earned runs and striking out 5. The loss would go to the Twins' third relief pitcher on the day, Ralph Garza Jr. Garza Jr. would allow 3 earned runs without registering a single out in the 8th inning. He would pick up his first blown save of the season, and with this loss, Garza is 1-4. In the Twins batting lineup, their center fielder Byron Buxton went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. His 2 hits were his 17th and 18th home runs of the season. And then their designated hitter, Luis Arraez, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI for the day. And then for the Detroit Tigers, the start was given to Tarek Skubal. Skubal allowed 5 earned runs in 3.1 innings pitched as he would strike out a batter. The win would go to the Tigers' setup relief pitcher, Alex Lang. Lang would allow no earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched. He would finish off the 7th and pitch the entire 8th. He would pick up his second strikeout, or he would pick up 2 strikeouts on the day, and with this win, he's now 1-3. The save would go to the Tigers' closer, Michael Fulmer. The former American League Rookie of the Year allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. Like I said, his 13th save of the season. In the Tigers batting lineup, their first baseman, Jonathan Schoop, would go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. He hit his 22nd home run of the season. Their second baseman, Harold Castro, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. And then their shortstop, Nico Goodrum, went 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 8th and 9th home runs of the year. Their left fielder, Willie Castro, went 2 for 4 with an RBI as well. With this win, the Detroit Tigers are now 76-83. That is the 3rd best record in the American League Central as they've won 5 of their last 10 games. They trailed the American League champs Chicago White Sox by 15 games in the division. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are 71-88. That is the worst record in the American League Central and the third worst record in the American League. They've lost 4 of their last 10 games as they now trail the AL Central champs by 20 games at the moment. Following this matchup, the Minnesota Twins and Detroit Tigers are 2 of the 8 teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention in the American League at the moment. Jumping out to Kansas City, the 2 more teams that have been eliminated, the Royals hosted the Cleveland Indians. The Indians would end up beating the Royals 6-1 after the Royals scored the first run of the game in the second inning. The Cleveland Indians would end up tying it off of an Oscar Mercado RBI double in the top of the third, and then just following, Bradley Zimmer's sacrifice fly would bring Oscar Mercado home, and then 4 runs later, the Indians pulled off their 78th win. For the Kansas City Royals, the loss would end up going to their starting pitcher, Angel Zerpa. Zerpa would allow 2 runs in 5 innings as he struck out 4. With this loss, Zerpa is 0-1. In the Royals' batting lineup, their left fielder, Andrew Benintendi, would go 2 for 3 with a run. Their first baseman, Carlos Santana, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then the Royals' catcher for the day, Cam Gallagher, would end up going 2 for 4. For the Cleveland Indians, the start was given to the reigning American League Cy Young winner, the Indians' elite starting pitcher, Shane Bieber. He allowed 1 earned run in 3 innings as he struck out a batter. The win was given to the Indians' first relief pitcher, Logan Allen. Allen allowed no earned runs in 3 innings as he struck out 2. With this win, he's now 2-7 on the season for Cleveland. In the Indians' batting lineup, their center fielder, Miles Straw, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their designated hitter, Harold Ramirez, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. And with this win, the Cleveland Indians are 78-81. That is the second best record in the American League Central. They've won 5 of their last 10 games as they trail the American League Central champs, Chicago White Sox, by 13 games in the division. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are now 73-86. They've lost 4 of their last 10 games as they trail the White Sox by 18 games in the division. Following this matchup, the Indians and the Royals are 2 of the 8 teams in the American League that have been eliminated from playoff contention so far this season. And then looking out to what's going on with the National League West and the National League title race, or the race for the best record in baseball. Starting off in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants hosted the Arizona Diamondbacks, who came into this matchup with the worst record in baseball. And in a game that would go all the way to the bottom of the 9th, the San Francisco Giants would end up beating the Diamondbacks 5-4 off of a walk-off single from Lamont Wade Jr. For the Arizona Diamondbacks in this matchup, the start was given to former San Francisco Giants World Series hero Madison Bumgarner. He allowed 4 earned runs in 5 innings as he struck out 4 on his former team. The loss for the Arizona Diamondbacks would go to their closer, Joe Mantiply. Joe Mantiply would allow 1 earned run in 0.1 innings pitched as he would not make it through the 9th inning. With this loss, Mantiply is 0-3. In the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their catcher Carson Kelly went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their first baseman Christian Walker went 4 for 5 with a run. And then their left fielder Pavin Smith went 3 for 4 with an RBI. For the San Francisco Giants, the start was given to Scott Kazmir. He would only pitch and get 1 out as he allowed 3 earned runs. He would get pulled in the first inning. The win would go to the Giants closer, Tyler Rogers. He allowed no earned runs in the 8th and 9th innings, striking out a batter in that 2-inning span. With this win, he's 7-1 on the year. In the Giants batting lineup, their center fielder, Austin Slater, would go 3 for 3 with 3 runs. Their left fielder, Darren Ruff, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then with this win, the San Francisco Giants are now 105-54. That is the best record in baseball at the moment, as they've won their last 6 games and they've won 8 of their last 10. They are tied with the Atlanta Braves for the longest active winning streak in baseball at the moment. They sit 2 games ahead of the second-place Los Angeles Dodgers in their division, as the Giants have 3 games left in their season. 1 more game could clinch the division for them, but they have already clinched a playoff spot. Right now, they're still fighting for whether their first game is going to be against the winner of the wild card or if it's going to be the wild card game itself. With this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 50 and 109. That is the worst record in the National League West and the worst record in all of baseball. They've lost their last 4 games and they've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They now trail the San Francisco Giants by 55 games. That is the gap between the best and worst record in the National League West division, the National League as a league, and the entire major leagues. It's a 55-win gap between the best and worst teams. So that is where the Diamondbacks sit. They are one of 10 teams in the National League that have been eliminated from playoff contention. They sit alongside the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Washington Nationals, the Miami Marlins, the Chicago Cubs, the Colorado Rockies, the New York Mets, the San Diego Padres, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Cincinnati Reds, as the 5 teams in the National League playoff picture are now set. And then last but not least, jumping out to Los Angeles, the defending World Series champs LA Dodgers hosted the San Diego Padres. The Dodgers were able to pull away with an 8-3 win to keep their hopes for the best record in baseball alive, as they have 3 more games left in their season and they are 2 games behind San Francisco. Jumping out to how San Diego fared in this matchup, the Padres starting pitcher would be Vince Velasquez. Velasquez would allow 4 earned runs in 4.2 innings as he struck out 7. With this loss, he's 3-9. In the Padres batting lineup, their shortstop Ha-Seong Kim would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 8th home run of the season. And then their elite center fielder Fernando Tatis Jr. would go 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as Tatis hit his 42nd home run of the season. For the LA Dodgers, the start was given to Tony Gonsolin. He allowed 3 earned runs in 4.2 innings. He would strike out 5 batters before getting pulled in the 5th inning. The win would go to the Dodgers' second relief pitcher, Corey Knebel. Knebel would allow no earned runs in 1.1 inning as he struck out a batter. With this win, he's now 4-0. In the Dodgers batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Corey Seager, would end up going 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He would go on to hit his 15th home run of the season. Their elite right fielder, Mookie Betts, went 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 23rd home run of the season. Their all-star second baseman, Trey Turner, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their all-star third baseman, Justin Turner, went 2 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs. Turner would hit his 26th home run of the season. And with this win, the LA Dodgers are 103-56. That is the second best record in all of baseball, but unfortunately for the Dodgers, it is the second best record in the National League West. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They're one of the 5 teams to do so. They've won their last 4 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10. They currently trail the Giants by 2 games in the division, as the Dodgers have 3 games left, and they are comfortably sitting in that top wild card spot in the moment, 14 games ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals, who have already clinched that second place wild card spot. It seems more and more each day as if the National League wildcard game is going to be played in Dodger Stadium. But as of right now, it is still mathematically possible for that game to be played in San Francisco, as the Dodgers still have a lot to fight for this season. With this loss, the San Diego Padres are now 78-81. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West, as they've lost their last 6 games. That is the longest active losing streak in the major leagues right now, as they've also lost 9 of their last 10. The San Diego Padres now trail the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 27 games at the moment. And the Padres are one of 10 teams in the National League to be eliminated from playoff contention, as the 5 teams have already been selected or have already qualified for the National League playoffs. That is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups, and taking a look at what's going on today from the very top. At 6:35, Will Crowe and the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to host Luis Castillo and the Cincinnati Reds, as both teams have already been eliminated from playoff contention. At 7:05, Josh Rogers and the Washington Nationals are going to host Eduardo Rodriguez and the Boston Red Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez enters his matchup with an 11-8 record and a 4.93 ERA. The Boston Red Sox are tied at the moment with the Seattle Mariners for the second spot in the American League wild card. This series is a must-win, as for the draw, I think the Nationals are a pretty solid draw for a team that want to make the playoffs. At the same time, at 7:05, Nestor Cortez and the New York Yankees are going to host Shane McClanahan and the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan enters his matchup with a 10-6 record, holding a 3.44 ERA for a Tampa Bay Rays team that is currently holding the best record in all of baseball. They've already clinched the American League regular season title. And also the Yankees are holding on to that top wild card spot by 2 games. A win here could very possibly secure their wild card and playoff positioning. So this is a big game for both teams here. At 7:07, Steven Matz and the Toronto Blue Jays are going to host the Baltimore Orioles, the team that's holding the worst record in the American League. Steven Matz is going to take the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's holding a 13-7 record alongside a 3.88 ERA. The Blue Jays are holding that 4th spot in the American League East. They are sitting 1 game outside of the wild card picture, and it seems as though their draw of facing off against the Orioles in the final week could very well pay off for them. So, of course, many eyes are going to be on the Blue Jays as their season's coming to a close. At 7:10, Sandy Alcantara and the Miami Marlins are going to host Ranger Suarez and the Philadelphia Phillies, as neither of these teams is fighting for a playoff spot. Ranger Suarez enters this matchup with a 7-5 record, holding a 1.45 ERA. Sandy Alcantara enters his matchup with a 9-14 record, holding a 3.09 ERA. At 7:20, Huascar Ynoa and the National League East champs Atlanta Braves are going to host Tyler McGill and the New York Mets. Huascar Ynoa enters his matchup with a 4-5 record, holding a 3.98 ERA on the season. The Braves have already clinched their playoff spot, and the Mets have been eliminated. But, of course, the season must go on. At 8:05, Spencer Howard and the Texas Rangers are going to host Eli Morgan and the Cleveland Indians, as neither of these teams is fighting for a playoff spot. At 8:10, the American League Central champs, Chicago White Sox, led by Lance Lynn, are going to host the Detroit Tigers, led by Wily Peralta. Wily Peralta enters his matchup with a 4-4 record, holding a 3.08 ERA. Lance Lynn is 10-6 on the season. He holds a 2.72 ERA. The Tigers are not fighting for a playoff spot, and the White Sox are, at the moment, still fighting for playoff positioning alongside the Houston Astros, as they have 3 games left in their season. Speaking of the Astros are hosting the Oakland Athletics. Framber Valdez is going to take the mound for Houston, and Sean Manaea for Oakland. The Athletics have already been eliminated from playoff contention, and the Astros have just clinched the division title. Right now, they're competing with the Chicago White Sox for the second-best record, as they are already out of reach behind the Tampa Bay Rays for the best record in the American League. Sean Manaea enters his matchup with a 10-10 record, holding a 3.94 ERA. Framber Valdez is going to enter this matchup with an 11-5 record, holding a 2.98 ERA. At 8:15, Dakota Hudson and the St. Louis Cardinals are going to face off against their arch rivals, the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs aren't fighting for a playoff spot, and the St. Louis Cardinals have already clinched that second wildcard spot. At 9:40, Humberto Castellanos and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host John Gray and the Colorado Rockies. Neither of these teams is fighting for playoff positioning. At 9:45, Anthony DeSclafani and the San Francisco Giants are going to host the San Diego Padres, as the Giants are 1 or 2 wins away from earning the best record in all of baseball. Anthony DeSclafani enters his matchup with a 12-7 record, holding a 3.26 ERA. At 10:10, Marco Gonzalez and the Seattle Mariners are going to host Jose Suarez and the LA Angels, as the Mariners they are sitting neck and neck with the Boston Red Sox for that second wildcard spot, so this is a must-win game for them. Jose Suarez enters his matchup for the Angels with a 7-8 record, holding a 3.86 ERA. Marco Gonzalez enters his matchup for the Mariners with a 10-5 record, holding a 4 ERA. Last but not least, at 10:10, the defending World Series champs LA Dodgers, led by their goated starting pitcher Clayton Kershaw, are going to host the National League Central champs Milwaukee Brewers, who are going to be led by Eric Lauer. The Dodgers are still fighting for the best record in baseball, as they sit 2 games behind the San Francisco Giants with 3 games left in their season. The Brewers have already clinched their division, but I imagine spoiling the Dodgers season would be a lot of fun for them, and they have 3 games to do so. Eric Lauer enters his matchup with a 7-5 record, holding a 2.93 ERA. Clayton Kershaw enters his matchup with a 10-8 record, holding a 3.38 3.38 ERA for the season. That is what baseball is looking. That is what baseball is looking like at the moment. As I quickly shift to see what's going on with football. Yesterday was the fourth Thursday of the 2021 NFL season, and in this matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals would end up beating the Jaguars in the Battle of the Cats, 24-21, and it would end up being a game winner for the Bengals from Evan McPherson to win the game. The Jaguars were up 21-14. The Bengals would tie it up with a CJ Uzomah 30-yard touchdown pass, and then the 35-yard field goal would give the Bengals the 3-1 record that right now is the best record in the AFC North. Taking a look at how the Jaguars fared, their elite starting quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, would complete 12 of his 24 passes, throwing for 204 yards. He ran for 36 yards on the ground and a touchdown, so that would be 240 total yards of offense in addition to his touchdown. The Jaguars' leading rusher was their elite young running back, James Robinson. He had 78 yards on 18 carries on the ground as he had 2 touchdowns. Through the air, he had -2 yards, so that's 76 total yards of offense. The Jaguars' leading receiver, Laviska Shenault Jr., had 99 yards on 6 receptions. On the defensive side of the ball, Rayshawn Jenkins, Tyson Campbell, and Miles Jack all led the team in tackles as they had 8. The only sack of the day would go to Adam Gotsis. And then for the Cincinnati Bengals, their starting quarterback was the number 1 overall pick from the 2020 draft, Joe Burrow. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick from the 2021 draft this year. But the number 1 overall pick from 2020 would complete 25 of his 32 passes, throwing for 348 yards and 2 touchdowns. He would also run for 4 yards on the ground, so that's 352 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher, Joe Mixon, would finish with 67 yards off of 16 carries on the ground as he would finish with a touchdown. The Bengals' leading receiver, Tyler Boyd, had 118 yards on 9 receptions, and then their second leading receiver, CJ Uzomah, had 95 yards off of 5 receptions as he had both of Joe Burrow's touchdown receptions. On the defensive side of the ball, Logan Wilson would lead both teams in tackles as he had 10 of them for the day. One of his tackles did end up being the only sack of the day for the Cincinnati Bengals. With this win, the Cincinnati Bengals are now 3-1 to start their season. That is the best record in the AFC North as of right now. With this loss, the Jacksonville Jaguars are now 0-4. As of right now, that is the worst record in the AFC South. As of course, they are the only two teams that have played their 4th game this season. The NFL will pick back up on Sunday, October 3rd. So on that day, of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on there. Taking a look at what's going on with college football today, looking at the ranked opponents at 8 o'clock on FS1, unranked Maryland is going to host 5th-ranked Iowa as both teams are 4-0. They are both 1-0 in the Big Ten. Both teams looking to give the other their first loss of the season. And then the other ranked matchup is going to take place at 9 o'clock as unranked Utah State is going to host 13th ranked BYU. BYU comes into this matchup 4-0 and Utah State 3-1. This matchup will be on CBS Sports Network as BYU looks to sneak their way into the top 10 this season. And then, of course, taking a look at what's going on outside of the country with football. Yesterday was the second day of Europa League matchups, and taking a look at how that went, especially for the bigger teams in the world. Olympique Lyon from France was able to beat Brøndby 3-0 as Toko Ekambi would score 2 goals for them. Napoli, the top team in Serie A, fell short to Spartak Moscow 3-2. And also looking down, AS Monaco out of France was able to draw with Real Sociedad 1-1. Bayer Leverkusen was able to beat Celtic 4-0. Lazio out of Rome was able to beat Lokomotiv Moscow 2-0. Marseille drew with Galatasaray at 0. West Ham beat Rapid Vienna 2-0. Dynamo Zagreb beat Racing Genk 3-0. And that's virtually what Europa League soccer was looking like yesterday. And there's not many big games going on today as domestic league soccer is going to come back around the corner. But with that said, that's everything that I've got for you going into today, Friday, October 1st. And with that said, I want to first thank the MLB, the FIFA, college football, NBA, and of course the WNBA websites for giving me what I needed going into this episode with the facts and figures. And of course, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 48 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And like I said earlier, once all of today's matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Saturday, October 2nd for another episode of The Elite. And until then, Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.